How you doing, everybody? Um, is the sound okay and you can see everything all right? Hi, Joseph and Owen and Raj. How you guys doing? We're bound to get a wide range of opinions on this subject. I think you're right. Eh, You know, I, there's Well, I'll start this off because I think Raj is right. There'll probably be a lot of different viewpoints. Let me start off with one as a company, one company that I think can do all of this, but they haven't been too good at it as in terms of certain things, and I'll explain that too. At least for me, this is my point of view. The company is Jaeger-LeCoultre, all right, and I like that company for about 1,000 reasons. The main reason is that they started off as really a movement. They were making movements. They made movements for Patek Philippe, Vacheron Constantin, and just about everybody else on sort of the upper level. And at some point, um, they just said, "Well, we'll make our own watches too." And they made a number of great ones. And they, but they seem not to be able to grab the really high horology interest, nor sort of the what I'll call sort of the sports watch informal luxury crowd. Okay, there seems to be some kind of offset. The one watch that has, I think, more than any other one, that's really grabbed the imagination and what users like or collectors like is a reverso. I don't know how well the reverso does with your average guy though, but for a company that I think could make just about anything, uh, they would be it. Whether they do or not, that's what I think would be a debate. So that's sort of the company I'm going to start off with. There's some other ones I have in mind, but let's hear what you have to say. Hi, Joseph, Andrew, Homer. How you doing? Planet Earth. Good to see you. uh, let's see, Forbin. Hi, Forbin. Okay, did you get a chance to take a look at the Cartier? Oh no, I didn't. Um, there was I tell you, I'm caught between 2 things. One is what I got orders from my wife to get this done and get that done, so that's one thing. Anyway, I don't wanna get in trouble. Don't get me in trouble here, Andrew, alright? But I will take a look at it. Hi, Lee, good to see you. Um, the wind comes sweeping down the plain. That's funny. Oh, man, okay. Hey, Beauty of Sin, how you doing? What do you think of Giza and his squally? Giza. I'm not. Oh, the geezer. I don't know that much. I've seen squally is a better watch than it sounds. Okay, that name. I don't know. It it sounds like some poor bird that didn't get out of the way of a car and becomes a squally as roadkill. But the watches aren't so bad. I rancher, none of them. All right. The Giza is the governor. Ah, okay. I don't know. I tell you, there's very few guys, other people who are talking about watches that I look at very often. One guy who I really, or there were three of them, I think, that I like. One is, the guy, I forget his name, The Watches, I think is the name of it. He speaks beautifully, he pronounces all the French words correctly because I think he's either Swiss or French. Great guy, great information. Like to hear his stuff a lot. The other guy who I like a lot is Tim Masso, but Tim, I don't like listening to Tim because I think, Tim can talk anybody into buying anything. I'll say this one thing for Tim and Govberg and Watchbuck. They had to double that guy's salary. He's really very good. And so he's another guy like, and every now and then, Federico, we got a couple of watches from him a while back. And, but there's something about him I've always liked. It seems that life is batting him around, or at least it did for a while. And but yeah, I just like him. Anyway, so a lot of people I don't I may miss out on because of that. Um, there's no Archie verses here. My God, why, why drag that in? I don't know. I guess some people are interested in those things. Arnold and Son, Langenheim, and Armstrong all offer a variety of quality movements, and their watches are not astronomically priced. Langenheim's not? Yeah, they are. Langenheim have, of all of those, Langenheim have really, they're way up here. They're excellent watches, but I think their prices are also way up here unless something has changed. I really like those a whole lot. And also Armstrong. Arnold and Son, I like the looks of them, but I've heard that they have some major movement problems. That may not be true, but that's what I think. Mark J, how are you? Yesterday was Francois. What's it? What did we call it? Francois Paul F.P. Yeah, Francois Paul Friday. Where were you, Mark J? Mm-mm-mm. Fred doesn't seem too sleepy for a watch. Doesn't seem too sleepy for a watch dealer. Yeah, I don't know. There's something I like about him. There's a comedian named Fluffy. Never mind. That's another story. Okay. Hey, Hater, how you doing? Okay. Let me throw out some more that I think either do or could do. There's one I have in mind, okay? And I think they do a lousy job on with a couple exceptions, but they have I think they could do it, and that's, Girard-Perregaux. Most of the watches, they I don't know, for some reason, they remind me of, you know, the 1945 I like, but most of the other ones they have, there's something a little off with them. What is the big one? I think they have one that does pretty well, but I think they could do so much better because they do have, I think, everything you need to have a decent movement. And so that would be one company that I think I'd like to see them do, what I think they could do at a because they have, I think, price wise, they have the range. Conservative movement. Cartier is doing it. Cartier, yeah, I Cartier, as long as they don't pull another Must de Cartier, this is what I worry about. There are two forces, I think, in every watch company. On the one hand, you have the watchmakers, and on the other hand, you have the business people. And the business people, somewhere in between, you got the designers, and God knows what happens to them. But you got the sort of the people who are they want to make it a successful business, and the other ones who want to have a successful movement. And how they come up with some of the stuff they have, I don't know. I'll tell you one company I think I've seen really make some good moves is H. Moser, because H. Moser's had some just fabulous watches, but for some reason they just weren't getting across, and now they are. And I have a feeling that the same may be true, is coming along, is Parmigiani. Now they call themselves PF. It's sort of giving themselves a T-shirt name or something. We'll call ourselves PF because people get tongue-tied with Parmigiani Fleurier. So those are Parmigiani. One needs would be one that would have to, I think, have a wider range. Um, and I think H. Moser has both companies have great movements that they can use. So I think they could. H. Moser has some more toward a entry level that are affordable, and I believe that Parmigiani does too. Okay, let's hear some from you guys. Could you trade your Francis Paul 4 or 5 for new ones you like? I like them all. I love my FP Journes are ones I really, really like, and it's a good thing I do because the prices are so high right now that if I didn't like them, I'd sell them. Sort of like, heck, I don't need these. But boy, I tell you, they're nice watches to have. The rumor is false. Never had problems with Arnold and Son watches. Friends who own have had problems. Thanks, Joseph. Like I said, this comes from a guy who does the watchmaker, and from one source, and so there could be some other things. Sometimes there'll be some kind of beef between a watch company and someone else, and so that may be what it is. I don't know what's going on with that, but okay. Hey, so no must agreed. Yeah. We'll have. You know what happened with um Cartier? So many of the Cartiers. Now these are way past must at Cartier. Is that had a lot of nice ones. Like you have the Balloon Blue. That was a lot of people, women and men, both like. And but most of them had ETA movements. Now, there's nothing wrong with an ETA movement, but it always galls me that they don't exactly tell us about them. And I think what's happened with Cartier, as far as movement wise, and I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but what Carol Forster Kasapi did was she made a bunch of movements for them. And now she's over at Tag Heuer, as you probably know. And I think, I don't know. Cartier, I think, would have to have a little more breadth to it. And that's sort of my feel about it. They got the tank, they got some other ones. Um, yeah, I think you're right, conservative. But I I worry about them. I'll put it that way. Watchmakers are no different than car companies. Engineers like good ones. The accountants like them. Yeah, Lee, exactly. That's exactly right. And they both. You need to have them both working together. I think that the one thing I'll say about FP Journe is, and same thing with Kari Voutilanen, they both have the same person within them. Um, FP Journe is not an idiot businessman at all. And I mean, he's sort of almost from day one, back in '99 when he put out a shingle, he's been making good watches and people have really appreciated him. He won a boatload of awards. The one year that he didn't win, he quit. That was He just won every year and he didn't understand it. He won three of the grand prizes. Now, obviously FP Journe could, but they're sort of, they're sort of like a, um, what is it? Bernard Shaw, I think it was, described democracy, or representative democracy as like people in a balloon. They would the balloon would come down, they'd vote for people, and the balloon would go away until the next election. And I think that's what happened with FP Journe. I mean, they're so successful. They sold out last year when I was at their boutique. They had sold out for 2022. So, and I've talked to some people that got on the list for 2023. One guy I know, Mark, was able to get one, but that was sort of a more complex story. Boy, Fort, let's see, where do we establish cutoff for affordable watches? Oh, that's a good question, and I'll tell you where it is. There, you have to look at this as different markets. Um, our levels of stupidity, I think, the more we spend on watches, I think as our IQs go down, our willingness to blow money goes up. Um, and but affordability is really very flexible. I mean, some guy, and I know a lot, especially younger guys, they're getting started, and where they're going to. How would they come up even with $1,000 for a watch would be a struggle. And then other people, the only thing that they get upset about isn't the money, it's the availability. And so that's a good question, but I think we have to see it in terms of different market groups. And then we can talk about them in terms of that and then how they're selling. There's another watchmaker that I really like that I do think has it. Now they're probably their bottom is now I think just under 20,000. And that's Vacheron Constantin. They came out with what I think is called a 56, and the introductory 56 I think is around 11,000 or something like that. And so for people who are interested in buying that level, that high of a high horology, that's pretty good. And then, of course, they go on up to you can spend a whole lot more than that. The point is, though, is two things. One, they sort of have had um, a renaissance in watchmaking and movement making. In 2013, I think, they came out with a 4400, which is their hand wound one. And I think it's in, I don't know how many, just about all of their hand wound watches have it. And then in 2016, they came out with their 5100. And it was initially in the overseas, but now it's in some of their other models. And, that's, you know, s- they can do that. And then the other thing, I guess, I don't know. What do you guys think of Valflurier? Because then you have really the watch. We have to look at a watch group in terms of the Richemont group as a like a giant watch company rather than a group that owns all of these other watch companies. I don't know. That's sort of a I don't know. Has the PF Tonda 1950 series been discontinued? Andrew, that's a good question. That was one of my favorite series that Parmigiani had. They may not have been. I just don't know. Um, what is this? For collectors, affordable means you can still have a roof over your head and a bowl of soup. Yeah, that's about it. When it comes down to see does Junior really have to go to college? Those kinds of questions. Let's see. Hey, Apar, Cartier's release at Watches and Wonders, very interesting. Cartier Moss Mysteries. Yeah, that one is. I've got to find out more about that on that one. Um, hey, Truman, how you doing? Okay, you see, always enjoy. Oh no, I don't, I don't, I don't like responsibility at all. Okay, Richard, what do you got there? Always. Oh, that's me. Uh, let's see. Foreman, Philippe Dufour is still independent. No, I think he still runs a company with his daughter. I am very, very, very interested in what Philippe Dufour's daughters do. it would be a kick in the head if they came out with a watch. Let's say that they came out with a watch. When I say they, I somehow think if one of the daughters comes out, it'll be doing it with Philippe. Let's say that he wants to get his daughter started on watchmaking. So he comes out with something very clean and very simple. Okay. Maybe not as finished like the simplicity is, but something nice, just, something for around $10,000. And the daughter, doing, sort of getting, sort of into the business, if you will. Now that would be interesting. I'd be the first in line, but I'd have to get there a week early to be the first in line for a watch like that. That would be a very interesting one. Hi, Rohit. How you doing, man? Um, hi, Tuna. There's trying to think. There was some. Oh, I know another watch company, and I think they do a good job on a different number of different levels. Is Nomos? Nomos does a great job, and they start with their club, and then they go all the way up to they have a lambda. I think a lambda movement, or one of their models is called a lambda. Very very nice and true high horology, I think. So that's another company I think that would be one that can cover the bases pretty well. Hey, Koji, how you doing? June Hans. Yeah, June Hans. I've done a little stuff on June Hans, and they turned out to be a little more than I thought. And you're right, that's a good one. Um, the Nomos Metro isn't particularly popular, but I really like it. Yeah, there are some watches. I recently got a watch that was terribly unpopular, and whoops, I'm dealing with a laptop here. It gets excited sometimes. Um, and what I discovered was that some of the most interesting, really interesting watches that are available were s- as far as a larger group of watch collectors or excuse me, as far as a larger group of watch collectors, but there are certain watches that we never really look closely at, and those are the gems that are fun to find. They're affordable and they're worth a fortune as in terms of the intrinsic value that we can have for a watch. And I recently got one. I'm going to talk about it on Monday. But man, I tell you, the more I look at that watch, see if it's just checking. I got my Vacheron on today, but man, I tell you, the watch is just incredible. Also, recently, you can find watches that are in places that really unexpected. The rancher found a great one at Van Cleef and Arpels. There's amazing watch that he got from them, and earlier today, I was at on High Horology Lounge. There was a guy who got one, and they're really fantastic watches. But they poof, they're gone. So many of them, around for a little while, and then they go away. But what I sort of try to look at today is some of the reigns that some companies have. Another one is Rolex. Rolex has a heck of a range, but to me, they sort of they they commit infanticide. In other words, they kill off certain really interesting watches a little too fast. And of course, I have in mind a Cellini Prince with here's this incredible watch, um, and they took the guilloche and took it from the front around to the and continued it on the movement in the back, or I don't know if it would be guilloche or engraving style, whatever it was. Just a great watch. And then you look at the movement, and here they have these really beautiful little uh, bridges, finger bridges that they have. You look at that, and wow, look at that. But then they, chopped it off because it doesn't look like. most of the other ones look the same, with the exception of the Cellini line. Okay, it's not. There's no Bills watches. I like to think of the Swatch Group as really one brand, yet they are somewhat independent. Yeah, that's true about those. Truman, is Lambda the one with 7 days power reserve put in precious metal? I think so. I think that's the one. I haven't heard much about it. They had a shape movement in the Lambda that I liked. Omega and Swatch cough. Okay. Uh, would you go to Las Vegas? Okay, that's another topic. Steve, I thought that was a VC. Steve M. I'm not sure what you're referring to. The Cellini prints and a nice movement. Yeah, that's the whole thing about that. This is great. Richard, reasonably sure Dufour's company is backed by Mr. Sifir, his investment partner. I think he's the commercial money behind the brand and allows the Dufour to concentrate on the actual watchcraft. Yeah, I wonder to what extent, you know, I think that he probably I think it would be a case where here's a guy, what's his name? Sphere or something like F Saphir or something like that. Yeah, I got a feeling he went to Dufour and had to talk him into it, right? The same thing's true with Daniel Roth. Daniel Roth makes these beautiful $100,000 plus not chronographs, tourbillons, and and he's got some money behind him that he can sort of do what he wants. And every one of them is sold out before he even picks up the first screwdriver on it. Historique 1921. Ah, yes, Vacheron Constantin. Here it is. It's very much by Vacheron Constantin. This was the first one that came out with a 4400 movement that I like so much. By the way, too, a lot of people forgot this or never knew it. It was 20, God, 2015, right in there, that Vacheron Constantin came out with the most complicated watch, this thing. Before that, in 1989, Patek Philippe came out with that. In other words, they spent resources to make this most complicated watch. Vacheron did the same thing, and it came out like I think it was in 2013 or 2015, sometime around there. I saw it and touched it like I wasn't supposed to at a watch show and got in trouble for it, but I had to touch it. That's dumb. Okay, Creedor is finishing that's the four level. Yeah, didn't do four go to Japan and work with some people there a number of years ago, and they thought his stuff was great and his whole approach was great, and so a lot of stuff. And Creedor, I'd like to see some of those with that kind of finishing. Hey, flipping Zippo. Okay. Okay, let's see. Schufair is the pronunciation. Thank you. Um, Lebanese surname. Interesting. Hey, Tuna, call me weird, but I always thought that Rolex dress watches were some of their better efforts, like the Cellini line. You know, the Cellini line is, I think they're so restricted. That's the only thing I have. They only make about 2 or 3 models, maybe even not that many, Tuna. but they are nice watches, but I don't think that, they even I just don't see them in the same level that you have watches by Vacheron Constantin, the older Patek Philippe before they started stuffing them with silicone hairsprings. Um, Blanc Pan has some great bargains. Yeah, they that's I tell you, if you haven't been, they did something really interesting in Swatch did in New York. They got 3 brands that they consider to be their sort of elite luxury brands. They bought Harry Winston, they bought Blancpain, they bought Breguet, so they own all 3 of those, and so what they did, across the street from the original Harry Winston on, Fifth Avenue, they bought up 3 buildings, redid them all, and so you have if you're walking down Fifth Avenue on the if you're on the let's see, it'd be on the right side, the same side of the street as Tiffany's, uh, that's where they are, and they have, like, I think it's Blancpain, Breguet, and then Harry Winston, and there's another Harry Winston right across the street from them, but, I went into their new Harry Winston, to get a new strap for my Harry Winston, and they were fantastic. It took them a little while to change the strap because on the Harry Winston that I have, it's got those swivel lugs on it, and apparently, so they were running all over the place. They finally got it done. They came out. They gave me a hard travel, thing to take for traveling, and apologize for taking such a long time. Heck, I'll wait for having a neat case like this. It was sort of a cool thing. This is what I'd like to say though, is that sometimes, when a company like Swatch buys a company like Breguet or Blancpain or Harry Winston, the last thing they want to do is have a bunch of their, you know, all thumbs guys who are used to banging together something with an ETA or something. They don't want them to mess with it. They want to keep the same people in and simply figure out how to make money doing it. Harry Winston, as a watchmaker, I don't know how they've done with him. I mean, financially, I think they've done well with Breguet, and I think they've probably done well with Blancpain. But Harry Winston, I don't know. That's sort of that would be a harder one to figure out because they spent $1 billion to buy Harry Winston. I suppose they could, they can make money from the jewelry. I don't know. That's the economics of watches is just insane. It really is. Hey, nothing against silicon. Yeah, I got a lot against silicon. If I want silicon, I'll buy a quartz watch. There's silicon and oxygen. That makes them run. Come on, go back to at least have a couple, you know, real hairsprings in there. Hi, Andreas. There's only one Cellini model left on their website. Yeah, Andreas, that's what this is what I thought. Because I was, it seemed at one time they used to have a lot of them, and I was looking at them for something, and they kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller. I think the last time there were only about 2 or 3 left, and now I guess there's only one. You can get used to the feel of silicone real easy. Flip and Zippo, you don't feel a thing. You don't feel anything. It's like you have a watch that's just much more accurate, but it's not more accurate than my iPhone, not by a long shot. That thing is, tied into an atomic clock on a somewhere. These things are, it's what you want. I do think that Patek Philippe still makes really excellent watches, uh, but why they gave up on the hairspring, I don't know. You take H. Moser. H. Moser's has their Strawman hairspring. That thing is not only does H. Moser use it, but probably a lot of the very high end companies use it as well. H. Moser sells what 3-4 thousand watches a year, and they're selling about 60,000 hairsprings. Somebody else is using them. Same thing with Parmigiani. Alta Coppa is their ring maker, and I know a lot of different companies that are extremely well regarded companies that buy their hairsprings. So there's all kinds of stuff going on that we don't know about. Okay, what else is going on? Jaeger-LeCoultre. Yeah, I agree with you, Harry. I think they're ones that I don't know. There's certain that they seem to be tripping over their shoelaces sometimes. They have great pricing. Their variety, I don't know. The Polaris and the Master, I don't know. You know, sometimes you wonder, well, what are they thinking on that? Dornbluth, yeah, Dornbluth. Dornbluth just doesn't have the size and the range. I mean, they make good watches, no doubt about it. So does Caribou and Lana and F.P. Journe, but no, especially price range. Um, Thomas. Okay, you got the Swatch Group basically has three brands financing the rest: Omega, Longines, and Tissot. You may be right about that, Thomas. I'll tell you something interesting. If you look at the history of Omega and Tissot, they were sort of a together at one time, and when they were purchased by Swatch or sort of the predecessors to Swatch, or they had some kind of agreement. The deal was that that Omega was going to be on the sort of high end and Tissot on the lower end, and price wise and everything else, and that they still are. But they go back before Swatch, I think, and they're two brands. It's really funny. Of the two, I like Tissot better. Just, I mean, I like Omega, especially their original moon watch. You can still get, and some of the other ones. I also a big fan of their Seamaster for some reason. Hey, Truman, what's up? Strawman sells it to AP in secret. Truman, they sell it to a lot more people than AP in secret. There's certain things in the project that we've got going. I found out more than I probably should know. Oh my goodness, we're way over time. Where is I'm gonna get the I gotta get the rolling pin. Okay, I gotta run. It's my time is up. But let me see what else the last one's here. Um Montrage Chris. What do you think of Breguet introducing the Aura Mundi to its marine line? Love that watch. That I really like a lot. Um, Not perhaps an appropriate question to stream about affordable watches. Well, we're not exactly talking about affordable here. I was sort of like there are different groups of affordability. So on that though, but I like that Aura Munda a lot. It is expensive though. Amiga could do anything they wanted if they wanted to. Hope they get more interesting, but I think Cartier is leading the pack, if not talking about boutique high horology. If we're not talking about boutique, yeah, yeah, Cartier. I don't know how far they're going. I mean, what I wonder is how far can they go on Carol Forestier Kasapi's movements. That's where I see, the mystery watch. You can go way back and they have the mystery. Okay, why is all FP Journey entry levels prices are bloody high compared to 2020? I don't know. All I know is I'm glad I got mine way back when I could afford it. I couldn't afford most of the watches I still own. I couldn't afford them anymore. Okay, Koji, thank you. Way past frying pan time. Hey, look, guys, I'm sorry I sort of went on and on and on, but I was I liked your comments, and I think you guys are great. And I got to run, or I'm in big trouble. Take care, and I got I'll tell you about my new watch on Monday. Have another unboxing.